is Sophia. I am 29 years old and I have FSGS. This disease, condition, sickness, whatever you want to call it, it only happens out of 1 million people, only 7 people get it. That's including children and adults. I've had this condition since I was 10 and I was supposedly in recovery by the time I was 17. I relapsed in 2021. When I relapsed, I thankfully was able to get insurance and it got covered. I began again my treatment and I was pretty much on the last type of medication that would possibly help me at least elevate and balance everything out for my kidneys. There's no cure to this condition. Unfortunately, I lost my insurance about almost 2 years ago. I have been fighting to get insurance from Medi-Cal. I have by myself treated, more of a natural way to help my body, but unfortunately, that is no longer helping me. A few months ago, I started to have the symptoms of my kidneys giving up. Oh, I'm sorry. And again, I am still fighting with Medi-Cal because I feel like at this point they're waiting for me to pretty much be dying to help me out and get me back on my treatment. I, since then, have been losing weight. Today I'm so hungry. I'm starving at this point and my body is not allowing me to eat. I have thrown up already today because I tried to eat. I have good days and I have bad days. Good days I am able to eat. I have a little bit more of energy. 2 weeks ago I weighed myself and I was 135. Today I weighed myself and I'm 130. Unfortunately, with this type of condition, you have a lot of different symptoms because it's my kidneys that are getting scarred and the kidneys are overworking and I am eliminating a lot of protein out of my body. I swell every day, some days better than others. It hurts when I swell. But the reason I'm sharing this is because I have finally found something that could possibly save my life. And I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking for people to just help me to share this video. I want to be able to share my story because I know that there is a follower here who reached out to me a few months ago who got diagnosed with the same condition. I am so sorry I have not really gotten back to you, but I myself am fighting with this every day. And within the last month, it's been getting worse and worse. A lot of my symptoms are back. And I think I have finally found a solution, maybe not a cure, but it's a solution that will keep me alive. I got recently told by a doctor that if I don't go back on treatment, if I don't start getting treated, that my kidneys will start shutting down in less than 2 years. Which means dialysis, which means to be on a transplant list, which it could be so rapid, it could take a while, but I don't want to risk that. I found a doctor in Mexico City who injects people who have kidney issues, who have dialysis issues, and he has healed them. Because my condition again is so rare, I am obviously going to need way more treatment than them probably. I am right now working a million different things, getting things together because I leave in less than 3 weeks. And I head out there and I'm trying to raise about $7,000 to be able to help me. And thankfully there are people around me who are so kind and who are helping me with this whole thing. And it is a treatment to inject mother cells into my body to help my kidneys possibly be more strong, start not scarring anymore. There's a lot And I just want to share this because I'm going to film all of the process, because if this helps me out, I'm sure it's going to help a lot of other people out there, because here in the US, I feel like they are just trying to kill us. They are trying to kill people like me who need treatment and are waiting until I'm finally in a hospital bed dying to be able to finally help me out. And I don't want to get there. I have so much more to do in this life, and I want to live so many more years, and I want to wake up and finally feel like I can eat and finally feel normal again and just continue my life no matter how chaotic it is. It's my life. And I'm not scared to die, because I know that if I do die, I know I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be in a safe place. I'm just sad that I'm running out of time without knowing it. So please just share, follow, like this video, and let's get this out there. And please come along with this journey. I know it's gonna be a huge journey, but I'm so excited to share it. I hope to help a lot of people, including adults and including children, because it is so hard living with this condition, and not any treatment will help us out, especially if you have it as an adult. It is so much harder to have under control, and here they just put you under meds that sometimes make your symptoms worse. And maybe it might be helping out, but from what I was told, this is something that I might have for the rest of my life. This is something that probably will cause me to never be a mom, and this is something that I have to live with pretty much. And if I can find a solution to this, to make my life better, to try to heal my kidneys in a better way, then I'm gonna do it. And if this journey that I have to go through, if I have to go through it, I'm sure that there are so many other people that are going through it that I can possibly help out, who don't know about this type of treatment, and just because there's not a lot of research on our type of condition. So please like, share this video, just please get the word out there and just come along with me on this journey, because I have faith and I have hope and that everything's gonna be okay. And to everyone who has supported me behind the scenes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, well, let's get planning.
I can't live like this anymore. Nobody cares about you unless you're dead or dying.
When I was 21, I sustained a back injury that left me paralyzed with pain. The slightest movement would send excruciating pain down my back, through my buttocks, and all the way down to my leg. I wasn't able to put any weight on this leg. I literally had to be carried from my bed to the toilet, and I needed assistance in the toilet at the age of 21. And of course, like most Americans, I didn't have health insurance at the time, so I couldn't afford proper medical care. I went to the local family doctor, and he did an x-ray, and he's like, oh, well, you're young and healthy. This is probably just an inflamed muscle. You'll be all right in a few days. Fast forward 6 months, I'm still in this excruciating pain, unable to walk. My entire life shut down. I quit my job because I couldn't work. I dropped out of college because I couldn't attend classes, and I was isolated from all my friends because I literally couldn't go out. When we eventually realized that this was a serious medical condition that wasn't going to go away with rest, we collected money to pay for steroid injections to reduce the inflammation on my buttocks, where I felt most of the pain. And these injections were $500 a piece, and I needed 3 injections. Now I can walk, but I'm limping because I still have pain. So we decided to do physical therapy. Went to a physical therapist and found out that it was going to be $100 a session out of pocket. I was like, there's no fucking way I can afford this. She recommended me to go to a chiropractor, which was $25 a session. I was like, fine, we can afford this. I saw this man for an entire year. For an entire year, he kept doing these stretches on me, kept fixing my back, and every other week I would still be limping into his office. It took him a year to be like, hey, you know what? I can't fix you. You need to go see a surgeon. You need to see an orthopedic surgeon to find out what's going on. I think you might have a serious back condition. I go to an orthopedic surgeon. He tells me I need an MRI. I tell him, hey, I don't have insurance. How much is this going to cost me? He's like, oh, $1,200. I'm like, hey, I can't afford that. Can I go get an MRI from somewhere else? Can you write me a note? I'll go get an MRI and I'll bring it to you. He writes me a note. I pay $600 out of pocket to get an MRI. And finally, it's been 2 years at this point. 2 years after my injury, we finally find out that I have a herniated disc, which is putting pressure on my nerves. It's putting pressure on my spine, which is causing inflammation in my spine and causing inflammation through all the muscles throughout that nerve that runs down my right leg. So the surgeon tells me the only way to correct this problem is that I need to get a surgery done, which is called a microdiscectomy. Basically, they shave off a portion of the disc, which is putting pressure on my spinal cord. And this surgery costs close to $35,000 out of pocket. I tell him, hey, I don't have this money. What can I do? And he's like, well, you need to get insurance. And this is before Obamacare. So my only option was to get a job and work with excruciating back pain. And I'm like 23 at this time, almost 24. And the only jobs I can get without any work history or without a degree from a university is retail jobs. So I spent the next 6 months of my life standing, folding fucking clothes at Express and JCPenney so that I could get insurance so that I could pay for my surgery. Whilst I'm waiting to collect the money to afford my surgery, my doctor is prescribing me powerful painkillers. I'm talking Vicodin, oxycodone, Valium to help with my pain. These are highly addictive medications. They're made from heroin, basically, the same poppy plant. He was prescribing them to me like candy. I would run out. He wouldn't ask another question. I would go in for my weekly or monthly visit. He would just write me another prescription. He's prescribing a child Vicodin. And of course, I got addicted. I got addicted to these pills. I found myself popping these pills in moments where I didn't have the pain. I just took it because I had the fucking craving for it like a cigarette. When I finally, first of all, become eligible for my health insurance, because, you know, it doesn't kick in right away. After months of working and collecting money, not spending money on anything else, just literally just saving money for my surgery, I gather the $6,000 surgery copay that I need to get this surgery done. I get my surgery scheduled and I go to my boss and I tell her, hey, I need a month off of work because I'm getting a major back surgery done. She tells me the best I can do is 7 days, which is 5 days that I normally am scheduled to work, plus the 2 additional days off the week that I get. So the best she can do is 1 week. And I shit you not, 1 week after my surgery, I'm working at JCPenney and I'm bleeding through my shirt because I'm not supposed to be on my feet. I'm bleeding through my shirt and my manager goes, hey, there's some blood on your shirt. Go take care of that. And by this time, I'm 24 years old and I get my surgery done. And through that, thankfully, I regained my mobility. But the pain has never gone away. I still, to this very day, I'm 36 years old. I have pain every single day. Every single day of my life for the past 15 years has been in pain. Fast forward 3 years, obviously I quit that job and I have a new job as a graphic designer for a much bigger company, and my injury is flaring up. I'm having trouble sitting at my desk, so I need to take some time off work. I wanted to apply for short-term disability. I went back to that surgeon, right? And I brought the form with me that my company was 100% okay with this. They're like, yeah, we can see you're hurting. Go get this form signed by your surgeon. I take this form to my surgeon and he looks at me and he's like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you're still having pain. We did the surgery. You should be completely fine. You're young. You're skinny. There's no way you're having this pain. And I was literally speechless. I was like, listen, my company has already approved this. All I need is for you to fill out this paperwork that says I have a serious medical condition. I don't need anything else from you. As soon as he gave me the paper with his signature, I stormed to the front office and I told them to give me every single medical record they have of me, and I never fucking want to see this doctor ever again in my life. I've spent half my fucking life in pain. You don't know what that does to a person. Like, I want to go out, I want to explore the fucking world. I want to see everything that there is to offer. And some days I wake up, I can't fucking walk. And why do I have to live my life like this? It's the worst feeling to try to explain to somebody how much pain you're in and they completely fucking dismiss you. 15 years, bro. You don't know what that's like. I was a child. I was a baby. My entire life has been ruined because I fucking had the misfortune of being in this fucking country that doesn't give a shit about its fucking citizens. Even as I'm sitting in my car right now talking to you guys, I'm in pain. And I've accepted I'm never going to wake up and jump out of bed and be totally okay and be ready to seize the day and be excited for what the day brings, because I'm always going to have this pain. If we had universal health care like most developed nations of this world, I would not have to live my life like this. From the moment I experienced the first sting of pain, I could have gone straight to the doctor and be like, hey, there's something wrong. We could have done the tests. We could have done all of the tests that I needed. If I had the proper care when I first sustained this injury, I would have never needed surgery. I would have gone straight into physical therapy. They would have helped me manage my pain, and I would never, ever be in this position. My entire life was ruined at the age of 21 because of the fucking healthcare system in this country, and my story's not unique. I'm not unique. This happens to millions of people every fucking day, every year. And our masters don't give a fuck. The healthcare system in this country is made for profit. It is not about caring about the health of the citizens. It's about squeezing every drop of money, that every dime that a person has.
I just had a humiliating experience at an infusion center. Keep Well, Health and Wellness, something, I'll tag them. With a nurse who's like blatantly racist. Like, I've seen it enough. I'm an expert on racist people at this point in my life, right? She puts in the IV trying to hurt me. She's the only one who does it. The only one. I only have issues with my IV when it's her putting it in. That's it, right? And I tried to mention this to another nurse today because she put an IV in and it burnt like hell. I'm sure she mixed it incorrectly. And that nurse rolled her eyes and huffed and puffed to me. Then the physician assistant who runs the place comes in very condescending with me. Like, well, everything looks fine. I'm like, well, if they mix the infusion incorrectly, could that be why it burns? Well, we have protocols. I'm aware you have protocols. You have a bunch of protocols that haven't been followed. I used to work in the healthcare industry as a nutritionist in the military, right? And when I'm coming in and there, I have to tell the nurse the correct dosage of my medication because it's not documented well. When the nurses are asking me how to mix it because it's not charted well. When they're forgetting to take vitals. And when I was supposed to get this beautiful health scan when I first signed up, never got it, right? So I understand there are protocols, but people don't always follow protocols. Instead, he came back in. He was like, it's a little tender there. Well, yeah, it was a little tender because it burnt, right? Not because it was swollen, nothing like that. The infusion burnt to the point that I was in tears, right? But I trust the universe and I was like, I want to finish getting this infusion. He kicked me out under the guise of like wanting to look out for me. I didn't ask that. Mind you, I didn't complain to anyone except for the first nurse who put the IV in. And she remembered me. I'm like, you put my IV in before, right? An IV that last week with a different nurse took me 2 hours to push, took me almost 6 hours with her. She kept taking my arm. You need to keep it like this, pulling my arm, being rude, being exactly what I know she is. And I am so just, I really do feel like in the healthcare field, that racism shit has got to go. Like, I'm tired of it. When you're working with patients around healing, even in an outpatient clinic, if you are racist or you don't like people or you're in a bad mood, figure your shit out. Like, I deal with clients all the time as a healer, a spiritual healer. I would never treat one of my clients the way that I was treated today. Never. Obviously, I will never go back there. And as much as I would love to like cancel this place, the people in this town don't care. They act this way because they can act this way. The people in this town do not care. They're so used to it. I'm a transplant and I don't put up with that shit. And I think the reason why racism affects me very deeply is because I am an energy healer, a feeler. You know, I can feel exactly what they're thinking, what they're saying. She took too long with my infusion today. She took way too long to mix the bag today. Way too long. I've been going there every week for a while now, right? And I was like, something suspicious. Spirit said she's fucking with your infusion, right? And I really do think she wanted to make sure I never came back. She wanted to hurt me and she wanted me to have such a miserable experience that I would never come back. And sure, the PA apologized, you know, but it was one of these like, you're stupid. I'm sorry you're so stupid. It was one of those like, well, everything looks fine. Didn't even want to consider that maybe something was wrong with the actual mix. With the actual bag. That couldn't have happened. I've been getting it all the time. Never had a problem with my veins. It doesn't hurt when anyone else puts the IV in. It's never burnt like this before, but I'm being a difficult patient, right? Because of the color of my skin. I'm exhausted, y'all. I know I'm not the only one and I just needed to vent. I really just needed to vent. Like even when you're spending good money They will still treat you like you're garbage. They will still treat you like you're less. But I would like to shout out, if you happen to go there and you live in Fredericksburg, Sharon. At first I thought Sharon didn't like me because she's Christian and I'm a psychic, and I was very open about being a psychic. And I've had people be really rude to me in this place when I talk about what I do. But no, she was so kind to me. And the grace that she had for me today when I was feeling humiliated and demoralized. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
All right, it's about Dr. Lewis. So I promise you all a Dr. Lewis that you all never seen before. Knowledge, all right? So take a look at this case here, right? So this gentleman here, he came to the office and he was experiencing a lot of pain and whatnot, right? When we did the blood and scan, by the way, we have a blood and scan special that is running until August the 1st. You all want to take full advantage of that. We saw a lot of inflammation. So as you all know, inflammation creates a lot of pain in the body, right? So this patient was experiencing a lot of pain in his colon area. Of course, he went to other doctors, did examination and whatnot. They saw nothing. But when we did our scan, we saw high levels of inflammation. So we know this client was suffering with a lot of pain. So so I was like, how long now are you suffering with this? And he said like, 10 years. I said, 10 years and nobody rectified this issue yet? Yeah, no doubt. I saw your video and that is why I came to you. Right? Upon leaving the office now, right? I stopped him. I said, wait, watch me again, let me see something. And then he watched me. I said, sit down. And I examined his eye, right? And this was his eye, right? On this eye here now, you see that little ring there, that little ring, right? That ring is inflammation, right? This is a test called iridology that we do at the clinic. Sometimes we don't, it's not like a test that we constantly do because the devices kind of get in trouble. But when you are trained to become a doctor of natural medicine, there are different techniques they can actually do to see it without using the machine, right? So what I saw it, I was like, wow, you have something called sodium rings, right? So that there is an imbalance in your body, all right? And that imbalance, now you're actually seeing it in your eyes. So the inflammation is so much in the body, you can actually see it within the eyes itself. That circular round thing there that you see in there, right? That is the high levels of inflammation. So what I told him is that with that buildup of inflammation there, that could actually block the pupil area. It could actually block that entire area and you will not be able to see properly with that particular eye. And he was like, Doc, you know that is actually happening to me right now? I said, seriously? And then we examine his next eye where he's saying he's not seeing properly, and they can actually see the white thing there in the pupil area there. Right. So that's like the inflammation, the cloud of the inflammation blocking that eye there. So he's not seeing properly. So the optic nerve is not transmitting that signal properly. Alright? I was like, okay, I'm really not seeing too good. I'm seeing a little blurry there. Alright? So yeah, so people, this is how bad inflammation can affect the body. And this gentleman was suffering with this inflammation issue for a long period of time before he came to me. And what we want to do, we want to see how best we could carry down this inflammation and also save the eye at the same time. Okay, so this is just a quick view on how we as doctors of natural medicine can detect these areas, because we were trained in this bracket. We were trained different from medical practitioners, a totally different type of training we undergo, right? We were designed and we were trained to watch the whole body instead of just watching symptoms of the body. We don't watch symptoms, we watch causes of the body and treat the cause, and the symptoms will disappear. That is how we were trained. So there's a difference between us and a medical practitioner. Alright, so I hope this video helped you guys with some knowledge. It's about Dr. Lewis and the issues that your body is undergoing. Feel free to hit me up. So this here is my contact number. If you have any problems and any queries and any issues that you want to let Dr. Lewis know, you message this email here. Alright, not for booking, only if you have difficulties booking and you're not getting through with the WhatsApp number, then you can send an email to this and I will have the office reach out to you. It's your boy, Dr. Lewis. I'm out.
What in the absolute fuck am I looking at? So this whole time, This whole time, root canals? Oh my God. This shit gotta be fucking fake. You're telling me teeth are connected to me? No fucking way. The more you deep dive into the rabbit hole, it gets only deeper and darker. There's no way they knew this and still pulling wisdom teeth. Some people are getting all 4 wisdom teeth pulled. I have all of mine still. In my 20s, I have all my wisdom. They won't play with me. Even if they go out, I'm keeping them, bro. I don't do root canals, bro. Wow.
You see that truck that goes through your community claiming to kill mosquito, the thick white smoke? That is not to kill mosquito. That is to make you sick. That is to send it to the doctor and to the pharmacies. That truck is not to kill mosquito. I've seen it pass mosquitoes, and those mosquitoes bask in the smoke and not one of them drop. But I accidentally went in it once, and I'm telling you, it made me feel, you see, every symptom they list about when you're having dengue, that was what I experienced after inhaling that toxic chemical from the truck. We need to start stone them. When I come in our community, we black road pan them. The energy we not use to kill off each other, we need to start to fight against this crooked and wicked and evil system. I saw something which is earlier and it reminds me. Right now I'm focusing on healing, but we still have to highlight the things that's going to make us sick. When you're in a state of sickness, disease, you cannot think clearly. So in order for us to think clearly and logically, we have to eliminate things that makes us sick physically in the first place. All 3 must align: the mind, body, and soul. Our spirit must align. These, you see the chemtrail in the sky, the white line, you see the plane releasing most of the days, them poisoning the air, them poisoning the water, them poisoning the food, them poisoning the chemical they use on your skin and on your ear, them poisoning everything. We need to wake up and start to go back to the earth. There's natural alternatives that we can use, but we were taught not to trust and question. Now question them we are poisoned, we know, but question the natural thing we God give away. That's all. They have bamboozled us and tricked us. Give me some herb. What kind of herb? This is short ago working. You question, you have 1,000 questions. Pick up the doctor, give you a pill with some words you can't even pronounce, and you gladly accept it and trust it. That's how they have taken our minds. But they say that truck, they want to say come through the community. We need to start stoning them and black road on them. Because they're coming, that toxic chemical they're releasing is not killing mosquitoes. They're killing you. It is killing you. I've bear witness of this thing. I've experienced it. I've seen mosquitoes. You don't do nothing to them. You don't do a thing to mosquitoes. Believe me. One by one, we need to eliminate and stop and fight against these things that are harming us and our children. They don't care about you. They don't love you, so you have to love yourself. Alright? Sunday evening message. Peace and blessings. We're still focusing on healing. Don't forget, we're healing internally, spiritually. Traumas, we're releasing ourselves from traumas. We are learning to trust each other. We're learning to make amends with family members who we just have misunderstanding and don't understand each other. We're trying to bring back that love, bring back the God in our lives, the creator within. We're trying to rise it up. Alright, so let's focus on healing, but let's also be mindful of the society that we're living in and what they're doing to us. Peace and love.
The rumors are true. They're actually taking organs from people that are not even dead. Did you know about this? We have for years had a suspicion that hospitals were taking organs from people who were not even dead. But now an article from the New York Times confirms it. And I read the article so you don't have to. 38-year-old Daniela Gallegos was rushed into the emergency room, and the doctors told her 2 sisters that she was not going to make it. So they both agreed to donate her organs. Right before the surgery, Daniela began to cry, tears flowing down her eyes. The hospital staff was like, oh my gosh, she's alive. This woman can feel. She can hear us. The organ retrieval coordinators told her sisters, those are just reflexes. She's not really alive. Let's just go ahead and move forward with the removal of the organs. They even asked her to blink her eyes, and she blinked. And they still said the same thing. Oh, those are just reflexes. The doctor said, no, we're not going to move forward with this. She's still alive today. She's alive and well. Listen, I'm an organ donor. I have it on my license, but no more. Because what I read is that hospitals are actively searching for patients who are borderline. And what they'll do is they will give that patient sedatives, morphine, propofol, to knock that patient out so that they can remove the organs. This is alarming. I am so disturbed by this article because I have been a huge supporter of organ donation. I'm not a smoker. I know someone will benefit from having my lungs. But don't take them until I'm literally dead. After reading that article, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna go online and remove my name so that my license doesn't have that little heart. Because this article has really dampened my ability to trust that the personnel at the hospital is gonna do the right thing. This is not an isolated incident. It has happened way too many times. If this doesn't shock you, I don't know what else will.
Complete mapping.
Nothing medical happening inside of it. Let me keep going. For the Spring General Hospital. At the entrance, although it have a hospital here, they ain't no herbal food selling there. You know where they put a KFC. So at the end of the day, when you're done a heart attack symptoms, come and eat KFC. Eat unhealthy. And we are Chinese prisoners. Watch. Trinidad and Tobago citizens at the side of the fucking road. Watch. Socially displaced. Right? What is this here? Watch. I look like me, you and me? Or he look like you and me? He look like you and me, but who them look like? Well, they give me a chance now. Right? That the Chinese prison here that they build, air conditioned down. Watch it. Watch it. Watch the security guard. But don't worry, we ain't going that direction. Let me show you something. Charlotte Street, Gordon Street. Watch it. Watch the prison they build for Chinese murderers.
So you run out of the essential nutrients your body needs, then something breaks, so you go to the only medicine that your insurance pays for, which is allopathic MD-directed medicine. The doctors don't know anything about medical nutrition. They don't believe that the body can cure itself, so they give you a drug that manages the problem. The drug, in its working in the human body, also burns through nutrients. So after 6 months or a year, the drug stops working, or they need to increase its potency, or they need to give you a second or a third drug, and then you get worse, and then you need another drug, and then it gets worse, and then you need surgery, and then you get a secondary infection from the surgery, and then you need another drug for that, and then you die. And then your relatives are so grief-stricken that they organize a 5K run on your behalf to come up with a cure for stomach cancer. And who do they give the money to? The people that failed you in the first place.
You've never heard that your saliva pH is actually one of the root causes of all of the dental problems you have? Go figure. It's because your dentist has never actually taken the time to talk to you about this. They learn about this in dental school. They know all about the pH balance of the mouth and how everyone lies either more acidic or more alkaline, and ideally we want to be neutral. They know what brings saliva pH back up regarding things like xylitol, certain foods. They know about this stuff. But when you're sitting in their chair, it's not the time, right? We're not talking about prevention. We're talking about drilling and filling and addressing the concern and the problem you have going on right now in your mouth. They're not going to talk to you about preventative dentistry. And that is why I've made this page, and I'm helping people because I've healed my mouth and I've learned these principles from dentists who actually care, but who are not in the limelight. You know, the videos that go off on TikTok are people who get all their teeth ripped out and then they're like, oh wow, look at these beautiful veneers they have now, and look at these implants and what a life-changing thing. That's all well and good, okay? but let's maybe not rip all of our teeth out. Maybe we could start to glorify preventing these things. And once again, you've never heard about it because it doesn't make the dentist money. And by the time you're in their chair, the point is missed, right? So stay tuned. We're going to keep talking about preventative dental health, and we're going to get your mouth in a much better place before you get all your teeth ripped out.
Do not go to the hospital by yourself. If you could avoid going to the hospital by yourself, please don't go to the hospital by yourself. As someone who worked in the hospital for 3 years, I have seen the most ridiculous things happen to people who were in the hospital by themselves. And one particular situation that sticks out the most to me is there was a patient that was coming in. He had surgery, and after he had the surgery, the medication that he was taking, he was having delusions and hallucinations from the medication. So they brought him to our department, which is the virtual companions. So we were watching the patient on camera for 24 hours. And during those 24 hours, the patient was on a posy vest, and he had 4-point hard restraints. So a posy vest is a vest that patients wear that they're strapped to the bed, and the strap band goes across the waist. It's to help them to stay in the bed. And also he had 4-point hard restraints, which are locking restraints that goes on the wrist and the ankles, and the only way to get out of them is with the key. Now this patient, he was having severe hallucinations, and with those restraints on, it's illegal to have both on. Matter of fact, you're not supposed to have another restraint with 4-point restraints in the state of Washington. So he was constantly trying to slide out of the posy vest with the locking restraints on his wrist. And I will call the staff and I'll let them know, hey, this patient's trying to get out the bed, because I worked in a different location, so I couldn't go over there. They went and checked on him. They helped him back up in the posy vest. And with those restraints on, he's supposed to have actually someone physically inside the room with him. But they only had him on virtual, which is also their fault. And he kept doing that consistently until one time he tried to get out the bed again. I called the CNA. The CNA said, I'm with another patient, which is understandable. I called the nurse doesn't answer. I called the charge nurse. She said, I'll be in there as soon as I can. So I was like, okay. And 5 minutes go by and he is not moving. I'm like, hey, there's something going on with him. So I decided to call the code blue, because I'm like, there's something wrong with him. When I called the code blue for his room, the charge nurse, she calls me, so why'd you call a code blue for? Like, you called the wrong code. You should not be calling a code. And I'm like, so she got mad at me and was like, I need to cancel the code blue. I'm like, nobody's been in the room with the patient and he's not moving. So she goes in the room. The whole code blue team goes into the room. And I guess I called the right code because they all had to perform CPR on him. And I'm watching them perform CPR on him, and it's like terrifying. Because it's like everybody's like trying to bring this man back to life. And they ended up flipping the camera up so we couldn't watch. Because everybody in my department was like, oh my gosh, like what the hell's going on your screen? And I was like, this is crazy. And so the man didn't have any family. He was in there for like kidney stones. And they said that he died not from strangulation, but from a heart attack. And he had no history of like any heart issues or anything. And technically, when a patient dies in the hospital, there's supposed to be a police report. And I'm supposed to fill out some type of information according to my manager. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I was like, this is complete neglect on the hospital. I don't care what nobody says. It is neglect on the hospital. Because one, they should have had someone in the room. If you're on the 4-point hard restraints, there's supposed to be somebody else in the room, not just on virtual camera, because I can't get there and help him if he strangles himself. And the way that they wrote that off, because he didn't have any family, nobody was there with him. I'm just telling you guys, I don't trust the hospital, and I worked there for 3 years. So take this information and do what you want.
What if I told you the hospital wasn't built to heal you, but to harvest you? They say the modern hospital is a place of healing, but look closer, and you'll see the cold halls echo ancient temples of sacrifice. White robes, sterile rituals, coded languages only the initiated can speak. Doctors as high priests, nurses as their assistants, and you, lying on the altar, trusting their scalpel more than your own soul. But it wasn't always this way. Before the Rockefeller medicine takeover, healing was in the hands of women, midwives, herbalists, and root workers. But they were burned, outlawed, erased, replaced by a system designed by oil barons and eugenicists. The first hospital funding models, built off life insurance payouts. The longer you live sick, the more you pay. The moment you die, everyone but your family gets paid out. And did you know your birth certificate becomes a financial asset the moment you're born in a hospital? That's why you're registered like property. That's why you're tagged, not named. And the doctor signs your delivery into the world, like a package handed over to the state. Ever notice how hospitals never close? How they're one of the only institutions open 24/7 like casinos and prisons? Because they're not just centers of care. They're processing centers for birth, for death, and everything profitable in between. They drain you physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and then send the bill. If this broke your trust in the white coat, wait till you hear what happens in the morgue.
I think I should start with the heart. If we're going to talk about disease, because heart disease is still globally the biggest killer, why don't we start with heart? What things can we do to prevent or reverse heart disease? I'm sure you're all great students, you've all had it written down, but let me remind you, one of the most important things you can do to reverse heart disease is to have a healthy plant-based diet. I mentioned earlier that when I was doing cardiothoracic surgery up in Cambridge, heavy work, really heavy work. We had to do 3 of these bypasses every single day, enormously tiring. But what we had to do is open up somebody's chest, stop their heart, link it up to a big contraption, and then try and close them all up again. It was a big, big deal. The person would be in pain for months. They'd need rehabilitation. And then, at least if it was a successful operation, they'd be alive. But evidence has shown us from years ago that just by changing your diet into a healthy plant-based diet, no meat, no milk, no refined sugar, those arteries that were closing down can now open up. Now, for me, even today, I've been doing this for many, many years. It's still miraculous to me that you can reverse one of the biggest problems in the world in terms of health just by changing your diet. You can get rid of doctors like me, and you can just replace it with a healthy diet. That is amazing, and I commend it to all of you. Some of you may have heart disease today. You may have an appointment to see a doctor in a few weeks or months. I can guarantee you, if you go onto a healthy plant-based diet today, by the time you see the doctor, you may not even need an operation. I guarantee that's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. So that's heart disease. What about high blood pressure? If I was to ask you, do you know somebody with high blood pressure? Everybody would say yes. It's such a prevalent disease. Now, what few tips have I given you to reverse high blood pressure? Well, plant-based diet is absolutely good. You have to exercise. We've seen Teeny skipping along this very stage, demonstrating how we have to exercise. It's brilliant. Water. I think water is one of the simplest things you can do to lower your blood pressure. Remember the example I gave you. If you were swimming in a lake, that's fine. If you were swimming in a lake of honey, that will be incredibly difficult because it's so thick. And that's what happens to your blood. If you don't have enough water in it, it becomes incredibly thick. You then have to use a lot of energy to push that blood round the system. Therefore, your blood pressure has to rise. Here's something though, going on from the plant-based diet, we said that greens do something quite remarkable in our arteries. They get the interior of our arteries to release a chemical called nitric oxide. That nitric oxide opens up the arteries all over. I told you nitric oxide is the active ingredient of Viagra. Okay, I know none of you have heard of it, none of you need to use it, but I can tell you when it comes to things like erectile dysfunction, rather than reaching for the pill, the best thing to do is reach for those greens. And let me remind you, gentlemen, because this is very important, if you have an episode of erectile dysfunction, you're at a high risk of having a heart attack or a stroke in the next 5 years. So rather than just going to the pill, start thinking about changing your lifestyles. Number 3, cancer. What things have we said about cancer? Well, I always tell people, and I've been speaking to a lot of people in the clinics throughout the weeks, if you have cancer, there are certain things that you must do. Cancer loves sugar, you must eliminate refined sugar. Vitamin D is key. You must have high levels of vitamin D. I recommend 20,000 units per day. Along with that, vitamin C, high dose. I have seen with my very own eyes people on high doses of vitamin C having their cancer reversed. We cannot guarantee it. Don't quote me. You can't guarantee it. But I have seen people on high doses of vitamin C have their cancer reversed. And remember, if you do have cancer, you must seek medical advice. I told you earlier during the week that those people who just say, I just want to go the natural route, often they don't survive. What you must do is seek medical attention and do the lifestyle, and then you have the best possible chance of surviving cancer. Medical attention alone does something, but it doesn't do everything. I remember when I used to be in the hospitals, the doctors would treat you for cancer and then allow you to eat the same foods that would cause cancer. That doesn't make any sense. So hospital treatment is good, but match that with lifestyle change, you've got a great chance of getting through, honestly. Now, what else can you do for cancer? I always say you should spice up your life. Spice up your life. Spices are really the keys to a healthy lifestyle too. They're like nature's natural drugs. The more spices you have in your life, the better your cells are going to be. Turmeric, most of us have heard of turmeric. It's a powerful antioxidant. And if you take away the oxidation of your cells, it reduces the risk of cancer. Ginger is like it. It's also anti-inflammatory. Cinnamon is brilliant. Cinnamon, not only does it lower your blood sugar, which if you have low blood sugar, the cancer doesn't grow too well, but cinnamon is brilliant in terms of fighting off viruses. In fact, they discovered this over 100 years ago. The women who harvested the cinnamon bark never got measles, never got tuberculosis. And cinnamon, if you have anybody in your family who has any kind of viral illness, you give everyone in the household cinnamon, it's less likely that you'll get the infection. Cardamom is very interesting because it actually makes you make more natural killer cells. They have a lethal name, but they do an awful lot of good. They're the white blood cells that defeat cancer. Diabetes. How do you beat diabetes? Definitely you need a healthy plant-based diet. But what else do we need to do? We should, every time you go for a meal and you're a diabetic, as you put your fork down, you should get up and go for a walk. Get up and go for a walk. What does that do? Well, as you're walking, you're using the big muscles in your body. Those muscles will absorb sugar very quickly. And so it will keep your blood sugar levels quite low. You then don't need to release a lot of insulin to deal with the sugar, and that means your cells can become insulin sensitive again. Insulin sensitivity is the opposite of diabetes. It can actually cure diabetes. I've told you quite boldly that anybody with type 2 diabetes does not have to live with it. Type 2 diabetes is completely reversible. Type 1 is more difficult, but type 2, completely reversible. So you do not have to live with it. Change your lifestyle and get rid of it. Okay, autoimmune disease, that was the last talk I did. That refers to all of these antibody diseases that are attacking different parts of the body. There are roughly 400 or 500 of them. Wherever you've got tissues in your body, you will have an auto-antibody if things go badly. And I must say, although I didn't talk about it, one of the biggest causes of infertility is autoimmune disease. Now, I know people go to the hospital for IVF treatment, absolutely, but rarely do they get to the bottom of what is the problem. And it's usually that you've got antibodies attacking your organs inside that makes it almost impossible to conceive. So everything you've heard me talk about with autoimmune disease, you need to apply if you want to get pregnant. Okay. Now, you see my details. I'm hoping that in 9 months I'm going to get lots of communications of people telling me, yeah, we have a child. So it's possible, believe me. Now, some of the things, if you weren't here the other day, some of the big things that you need to do to get rid of autoimmune disease is get rid of milk, because milk is one of the key factors that generates these antibodies. Deal with stress. Make sure you avoid refined sugar. Have high doses of vitamin D. If you do that, you have a great, great chance. A bit like a little boy called Bart Simpson, don't have a cow man. Stay away from the milk. Okay. Now, this is increasingly a problem on this continent of Africa. Didn't used to be. You go back 50 years, there was very little obesity on this continent in Africa. Now, with all of the imports of Western culture, including Western food and Western lifestyle, we're getting exactly the same problems that they get in the West. How do we defeat it? I always say, get rid of the white stuff. This is not a racist statement, folks. This is not a racist statement. I'm saying get rid of the white rice, white flour, white pasta, and of course that white substance, sugar. You know, sugar, if you look at it from afar, it looks a bit like heroin. And by the way, it activates exactly the same parts of your brain for heroin addiction. That's why giving up sugar can become so difficult. But remember, I did give you some help in overcoming sugar addiction. Remember the Dr. Chidi method, named after some obscure doctor? You remember that? So for those of you who don't remember, let me tell you, when that donut is calling out your name, the worst thing you can do is say, I can't eat the donut. Because if you do that, your brain will just desire it even more. What you must do is say, I will eat the donut, but I'll eat it in half an hour. At the same time, eat yourself an apple. Now that apple will release sugar slowly into your bloodstream, slowly so that you don't get this insulin spike. And after half an hour, you'll have enough sugar in your system to overcome the desire for the donut. You're not looking convinced. If at the end of the half an hour you still want that donut, do the same thing again. At the end of the day, you may have eaten 5 apples. That's okay, that's your 5 a day, right? But even if you fall off the wagon, even if you succumb to the donut, I guarantee you will eat it less frequently than if you didn't try the Dr. Chidi method. What does Dr. Chidi stand for? Don't resist it, choose to have it, but delay it. Dr. Chidi, there you go. Now you'll remember my name, okay? That's the only reason why I did that for you. But seriously, sugar has been a serious business, especially on this continent. We used to be slaves for sugar, now we're slaves to sugar. We need to get rid of the sugar, absolutely. Now, we must not forget dementia. Okay, some of you understood what I was talking about. We must not forget dementia. Okay, I can hear one person, they've understood. Right, dementia, for me, is now one of the most feared diseases around. When I was younger, a younger doctor, it used to be cancer. But now dementia, losing your memory, losing your personality, nobody wants that. It's a fearful thing. The good news is, and there is good news about dementia, it is a lifestyle disease. It is not random. Now, you may have seen studies to say, well, there's a genetic makeup. There is. There are genes for dementia. But there are people who have the gene for dementia who don't get dementia. There are people who don't have the gene for dementia who get dementia. The biggest factors are lifestyle factors. So, for example, you will know that if you have high blood pressure, that's a risk for dementia. If you're obese, if you're diabetic, and the biggest risk is long periods of stress in your adult life. If you do not know how to manage stress in your adult life, that is the biggest risk factor for dementia. So we're going to need to know how to manage the stress. We're also going to have to change our lifestyle, make sure we have the right diet. There's been lots of studies done. On this continent, actually, there's been a Nigerian study which showed that the more berries you have in your diet, the less likely you are to have Alzheimer's. It's even more significant than that. They have showed that if you have dementia, early signs of dementia, you go onto a healthy diet, have lots of berries, you can reverse up to 90% of the symptoms. Now, maybe you've never heard that before. Because most people think, once I've got dementia, it's just a long road down to ruin. That's not true. If you are diagnosed and you change your lifestyle, you can reverse up to 90% of the symptoms of dementia. Talking about stress, we spoke a little bit about depression and anxiety and stress. What little signs can I give you to help? Well, remember what we said. There are triggers for depression. There are triggers for stress. And the big ones are debt, divorce, disease, and death. Now, we can't avoid some of them, but when they come to us, the best thing to do is to not hide away and keep it to yourself. The best thing to do is to get help quickly. The quicker we get help, the quicker we understand that we're not alone, that other people are going through exactly the same thing, the quicker we can cure ourselves or head off depression. What else do we need to do? If you're depressed, you might find it difficult, but one of the ways to break that cycle of depression is to get into some physical activity, whether it's going for a walk, a run, a swim, whatever. Maybe you need somebody to encourage you to do it, but it will break that cycle of depression quicker than just about anything. The next thing you can do is do something, even if it's small, for somebody else. That sounds strange. You're depressed. Why am I going to do something for somebody else? Well, we have shown through scientific endeavor that by doing even a small thing for someone else, it takes your mind off of yourself. And that can break that cycle of that spiral of self-thought. So the more you can do for somebody else, even if you don't feel like it, think of it as if you're doing something for yourself when you're doing something for somebody else. Being kind to somebody else is actually being kind to yourself. What else? I mean, we have to know how to heal from depression, and we've talked about it a lot. Forgiveness. The quicker we can start to forgive ourselves, forgive others, if you're able to do that, it is a quicker release from the grips of depression and stress. Every study I've seen in the last 10 years has an element of letting go of past trauma, of past hurt. The quicker we're able to do that, the greater the chance we're going to be free from depression. And we want to be free from depression. Because in fact, even at the heart of most of these diseases that I've been talking about is a level of stress. Stress makes every disease worse. It doesn't improve one disease. Right, so in fact, we know that disease is what? Dis-ease. So if we want to get rid of disease, we're going to have to start to be at ease with ourselves. We can only do that if we learn to forgive, if we learn to let go, and if we learn to look forward and stop looking back.
My mum died because she never rested. So my mum had a stroke, and strokes come about when you're under a lot of stress. So she had high blood pressure, and her high blood pressure was due to a lot of stress. And we felt like her death was very sudden. We literally was like, she was here today, gone tomorrow. Literally went in hospital one day and was gone the next. But over time, I'm realizing that she was dying slowly every day because she wasn't giving herself rest. And this message came to me yesterday, and something is encouraging me to share that it's important to give yourself rest, like intentional rest. How are you intentionally resting?